You're not going to believe what you're about to hear. Would you please join with me and welcome Twisted Sister?
1, 2, 3,
Steal a flashlight. You know you're not going home tonight. Be check or switch doctors of mine. The way to run and the way you'll find. You can't escape from the bed you made. When your time has come, don't accept
In 1972, J.J. French, who at the time used the name Johnny Heartbreaker, joined the band Silver Star. J.J. French would later push the band to change the name. Michael O'Neill would take over for vocals and came up with the name Twisted Sister. The band would suffer lineup changes and split-ups throughout its entire early career. Eddie Ojeda would be added in 1975. 1976, Dee Snider would come on board after a suggestion from the band's agent, Kevin Brenner, who said the band would never go anywhere unless they were able to play Led Zeppelin songs. Mark Mendoza would join in 1978, and in 1982, A.J. Perro completed the official Twisted Sister lineup. Twisted Sister would release its first EP on Secret Records in 1982 entitled Rough Cuts, but would feature Tony Petrie on drums. A.J. Perro would be on the first studio album, Under the Blade, which was produced by Pete Way of UFO. With its overall raw heavy metal sound, it became an underground hit in the UK and would feature Fast Eddie Clarke from Motorhead on the song Tear It Loose. Let's now go to Wayne Noon, Greg Noggle, Nate Lander, and their special guests, Lou Mavs and Ralph Viera, as they discuss Under the Blade. Welcome to Rat Style Review. We are joined by a huge group of people today. Usually it's just me, Greg, and Nate. But Ralph, this is your first time on our regular show, Rat Style Review. Usually you're on the King Diamond show, so welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Lou, you're on every once in a while.
Yeah, whenever I feel like it.
Yeah, actually, you were just on one of the. Well, actually, shit. When were you on?
Last time I was on your show, on this one, we were discussing 6 worst album covers.
Oh, yeah.
The last time I had the pleasure of speaking with you, Greg and Ralph, was on this broadcast belongs to them. We were discussing Conspiracy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
That took long ago.
And thank you for having me back on.
Yeah, no problem. I was just on your show. That was a lot of fun talking about wrestling.
Yes, we were talking about the Dark Side of the Ring episode on Owen Hart, and you were asking me why I sat through Cannibal Holocaust, or as we kept accidentally calling it, Hannibal Holocaust.
The movie's awesome.
I love that movie.
Yeah, Greg, you commented on my Facebook post. Thank you for that.
Yeah, not a problem. I was gonna go off on how it looks cool, so who gives a fuck anyway? But I don't want to hear from a bunch of PETA pussies, so I'm good.
What's the most fucked up movie you've ever seen?
A Serbian film, without a doubt.
That I have yet to see.
That was until I just recently watched this Russian movie called Come and See.
I've seen that before, yeah.
That movie is fucking insane.
Yeah, it is.
And it's like this much of the entirety of the atrocities done during World War II.
I'm not going to watch it either. Ralph, you're a big movie watcher. You watch any of these movies?
No.
No.
I'm not too big on foreign films, though. You guys ever seen High Tension?
No. I heard of it. I've heard of it to watch it. Never got around to it.
I think it's from Italy. I mean, that shit was brutal.
I think it's either French or Belgian, but yeah, I heard it was pretty bad.
Grindhouse kind of film. Like a kind of splatter.
Yeah.
Like ridiculous shit. I love that.
But Lou was describing the Cannibal Holocaust movie and the killing of actual animals. I don't need to watch that.
I have that. I have like some anniversary edition for somebody gave it to me for my birthday.
You ain't this way, you can't write lyrics. It's like you need that fucked up insight.
Yeah, I had only brought it up because I subscribed to Shudder and I watched Joe Bob Briggs' Last Drive-In, and that was the movie that he did, second film that he did on Fridays. So I was just talking about on my show how much that movie screwed me up, and Wayne decided to delve further into my psyche on my show and asked me why did I actually sit through it.
Yeah, not happening, not doing it. But anyway, we're not here to talk about
just
horror
movies. Movie doesn't mean I'm going to run around killing tortoises. People need to calm down.
I don't need to see that though. And it's not just tortoises. What was a pig?
It's a cotamundi, two monkeys.
Might go running around in a loincloth with a spear, though. You never know.
Yeah, that's true. Manowar did it, so.
All right, whatever. Move on, Ramona.
Okay, boomer.
Well, nothing else is going on. Nobody wants to talk about anything else going on, right?
Well, there's nothing else going on. The world's at peace. Everything's cool.
Everything's fine, right? No more virus.
They fixed my cable. I'm good. Got a budgie record in the mail today. It's been all right.
Oh, wow. Nice, good. Well, we're here to talk about
the coronavirus, murder hornets, looting, arson, and now Tommy Lee's going to release 2 songs this Friday. We're fucked in 2020.
Oh, my God.
Game over, man. It's a bug hunt.
It's a bug, he says.
Destruction and violence.
Nobody wants
to eat of it, bruh.
Yeah. All right, but today we're here to talk about something actually good. Twisted Sister. The first 3 Twisted Sister albums. You can't kill rock and roll. I mean, you can't stop rock and roll.
Jesus Christ. What is wrong with you guys?
I only said it because it was
it's the domino effect Nate started.
It's literally one fucking
Ozzy.
Of course I fucked it up.
Under the Blade, you can't stop rock and roll and stay hungry. I wanted to stop it there because the next 2 albums are kind of so-so. So these are the first 3 that are really, the best albums, the best. So, anybody want to start, or do you want me to start? Give a little backstory on the first album.
Well, that would be your job as host, wouldn't it?
Last decade.
It would be my job. What's that?
Twisted Sister had spent like the last half decade before that being New York's biggest club band, so there's that dimension.
Yeah. Under the Blade was released in September 1982. Was produced by bassist of UFO and Wasted, the Pete Way, and was recorded in London, England. When originally released on Secret Records, which is this version. It had a more rough. Yep, Ralph's got the same one. And actually, when I bought that, when I got into Twisted Sister, it wasn't until that tribute album came out. Obviously, I was always into Twisted Sister, just never had the albums. So the music store that I went to go get their autographs, they had all the albums there. They had a special if you just buy them all or whatever, you can get their autographs. So I bought all the albums, and that was the Atlantic reissue. So it had a weird mix to it. It just had like it was remixed and remastered to sound like all the other albums did at the time.
Lighter and poppier.
Right. Yeah. Yep. So later on, I didn't realize that Under the Blade had a totally different mix on the original release, and it sounds totally different. It's just way grittier, way raw sounding, and the other one was just way too produced.
And Pete Way ended up producing it because they were recording the album in the same studio that Fast Eddie and Pete Way were doing the original Fastway demos in.
Actually, it was recorded in a barn. True story.
Really?
Where they had haystacks around the amps.
Wow.
I'll show you here. The Under the Blade CD comes with a making of.
Really?
Yeah.
And it has the whole story of they did it inside a barn in the middle of nowhere in England, and they had haystacks around, and they were getting a lot of complaints because it was very loud. And Fast Eddie came in, did a track.
Yeah. Well, I've got a Kerrang article from like '82, and that's what Pete Way says in there. So.
but Pete Way was also wasted, no pun intended, at the time.
Yeah.
Pete Way enjoyed narcotics a bit too much.
Who wasn't?
No, read his book, Fast Ride Out of Here. He goes into extreme detail on how wasted he was.
But it wasn't until 2011 when another record company, Eagle Rock, would re-release the original recording the way it was on the Secret Records, which me and Ralph have. And at the time when I just described this, so I don't have to go through all that. And then you guys just mentioned Fast Eddie Clarke also makes an appearance on the track "Tear It Loose," and actually, Greg, you listened to that when I called you.
Yep, great song, very Motorheadish.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yep. In 1982,
the
it
whole
hit
album
numbers.
kind of is actually. I mean, you don't really hear it so much on the Atlantic version. It definitely needs that rawer production. But anyway.
Yeah, it just really gives it something else.
Not to mention, Motorhead was the first band to really take Twisted Sister out in England and Europe.
Really?
Yep.
It hit number 70 on the UK album charts, and in 1985, it would get to 125 on the Billboard charts in the US. So, that's that. Anyway, who wants to go first to talk about the album?
I will if you want me to. I think it's a ripping album, man. The first track can only be an opening track when they play live. You can't play. You can't. What you don't know, you can't put anywhere in the set list, except the beginning.
It's got to open. Yeah. Yep.
Ripping tune. Bad Boys of Rock and Roll. I'm not a fan. I like Wanting for Your Life. Sin After Sin. Fucking heavy. Shoot 'em down is fun. Destroyer. D. Snyder said it. He said it really good. He said Destroyer. He said it's not the heaviest song in the world, but it's damn close. Probably my favorite on there, along with the title track, Under the Blade, and Tear It Loose is ripping. Day of the Rocker's kind of a bluesy thing, but I think it's a ripping album, man. It's very raw, and it's not. We're not going to take it. That's for damn sure.
Right. No, not at all.
It's probably their heaviest album. Not my favorite, but it's their heaviest album, I think.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Defenders of the Faith.
Really? Why is that?
The riffing. Most of the riffing and the drumming. Like a lot of that quick drumming sounds a lot like Les Binks, where it's still 70s-ish, but with 2 kick pedals. And then you got just simple, straight up, but quick riffing, like and the way the bass works in it too. Just the vocals are different. It's the real Judas Priest vibe.
Well, the way you really have to hear this album is the original Secret version, or if you buy the Eagle Rock re-release. Don't buy the Atlantic version. I mean, it's all right, but it's just way too overproduced.
And it is also available on CD. So don't be don't be confused. Let's see. I think I have that one as well. Don't buy the Atlantic version, but maybe I don't have it. But they did release it again. Oh yeah, here it is.
Well, I think the one that comes with the DVD is the
That's the secret version.
That's what I was talking about.
The Atlantic version came out on Spitfire, so it's probably out of print because I don't think Spitfire's around anymore. So there is a different album cover. To both of them. So I mean, it's the same photo shoot, but just know. And also, this one's to get because it has the DVD, which is not only a documentary, but the infamous Reading show where they're throwing shit at him.
Oh, really?
And Lemmy comes out.
I have it, but you know what? I never watched the damn DVD.
You have to see it.
I'll have to watch it then.
Yeah,
It's
Lemmy and
awesome.
Fast Eddie reunite and play.
Twisted Sister was amazing live. Let me tell you, they were
Yeah.
very
I
street.
would have killed to have seen them.
That's what actually got me into it because my uncle, being from New York and Long Island, where they're from, when my uncle saw I had the Big Hits Nasty Cut was the first Twisted Sister CD I owned. So he saw I had that. He goes, "Oh, you're into Twisted Sister?" He goes, "Oh, I used to file them all over the place on Long Island." So I was like, "Oh shit!" My uncle actually listened to Twisted Sister, and that what made me go to the record signing that I went to, and get more into Twisted Sister because I thought that was cool to have my family member, an uncle that I actually liked too, like Twisted Sister, So it was cool. And then, listening to this album, just like Lou said, I'm not Lou. Why do I keep calling you fucking Lou? Ralph. There's so many good songs in here. What you don't know, you can't start, like a show without that song being first. Bad Boys Rock and Roll, awesome song. Run for Your Life. The best song on here is Under the Blade. That's probably not my favorite Twisted Sister song. We'll get to that later. Maybe my second favorite Twisted Sister song. Destroyer, I didn't really like it because, like on Big Hits Nasty Cuts, it was on there as a live version, and I always hated the live version for some reason. I don't know, just didn't fit as a live song I'd want to listen to. It's just so slow and boring to me. But on here, it actually works. I like it on here. Shoot 'Em Down's okay. Tear It Loose, I don't know. It's all right. Day of the Rocker, it sounds like an AC/DC song to me.
Yeah, it's a bluesy song, kind of.
Yeah.
It kind of does not fit on the album almost in a way.
Yeah.
Because none of the other songs really sound like that. But I like Bad Boys of Rock and Roll. I know you don't like it, Ralph.
I don't like that tune. Yeah.
Why don't you like it?
I don't know. I just think it's too happy. And Atlantic version brought even a worse song. I'll Never Grow Up.
Oh yes, that's right. Yes.
That one's really even worse. Well,
Sounds like the fucking Dolls, man.
So Harley Davidson, I can't.
And who's actually is Dee singing that song? Because it doesn't sound like Dee Snider.
What song?
The one we just mentioned.
I'll Never Grow Up. No.
Yeah, it's Dee.
It doesn't sound like him. Really don't sound like him. But yeah, I mean it's a great album, great debut. But you have to buy this version because the other one, just like I said, just doesn't cut it.
Thankfully, both versions are. Oh, cool. Thanks. Well, thankfully, both versions are available on iTunes, and I agree with both Ralph and Wayne. Don't get the 1985 remix. Get the other one. I remember going through my brother Mikey's cassette collection, and he had this. And this was the only Twisted album that he had on cassette, and it was the first album that I ever listened to from them. Meanwhile, Stay Hungry had already been out, but this was the one that he had. First song on it was What You Don't Know Sure Can Hurt You, and I was immediately hooked as a kid. So this was my true gateway into Twisted Sister, even though I had already seen the videos at that time for We're Not Gonna Take It and I Wanna Rock, but I thought that was, in my opinion, probably one of the best debut albums ever by a metal band that I had heard. It still holds a dear place to me. I want to say that it's my favorite Twisted album, but it kind of goes back and forth with what I think is their best one, which we'll get on to later as we discuss it. But yeah, a lot of classic songs on here. Of course, when Motorhead covers Shoot 'Em Down for the Twisted tribute album, I don't know. To me, if Lemmy's okay with it, it's got to be a good song. So.
Oh, I love Shoot 'Em Down.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Fun.
But
Shoot them down with a fucking gun. I mean, back then, I heard Under the Blade later. I'll never forget the first time I heard some guy had it on a cassette at a party. And not only that song, but then there's Tear It Loose. It's such a fucking crime. You gotta back it was kind of unheard of, when it was kind of like, ooh, so it was kind of special that it made it like so much. And plus, I mean, you got to remember, this shit was like hardcore back then. What you would consider, this shit sounds like pop music now, but at that time, this shit was fucking hardcore, like Under the Blade and Tear It Loose and What You Don't Know. It's like Dude, that shit was unrelenting back then. But you know, you got to hear, and it's funny because they didn't know Motorhead when they wrote these songs. They didn't know them, and you know, they met Motorhead in England, and it fit, you know.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I think Dee writes great metal songs with great pop hooks. That doesn't necessarily mean that Twisted Sister is a pop metal band. It's just they write great metal songs with great hooks.
Yeah.
And favorite track for me is Under the Blade. Least favorite is I'll Never Grow Up Now.
Okay, yeah, but you can say the same about Wasp.
What do I consider Wasp?
No, it's like you could say the same thing about Wasp, is why I consider Twisted Sister a air metal band. Is like Wasp is also a band that writes relatively just straight up heavy metal music while having a glam look.
I could see that argument, and I am a fan of the first Wasp album, so
I love Wasp.
That's not section.
That's the standard I'm holding it to.
All right, cool. Well, that's my piece on it.
It's funny though.
And, I gotta say also, like, for years I always thought this is bullshit. All songs written by Dee Snider. It's like, come on, like nobody had input at all. And I just recently heard an interview with Tom Warman saying Dee Snider would walk in with all the songs. Nobody contributed anything but Dee Snider. I was like, dude, I thought all this time that was some kind of like Ozzy Osbourne bullshit, you know? Like Ozzy Osbourne barked the moon, you know?
Yeah.
I actually write all the songs.
I think they covered that in the Behind the Music where J.J. French said, all right, you write the songs. And then he did, and he even said it himself that when Twisted's career was over by the dawn of the 90s, he was still the only one making money from the royalties. The other band members weren't. And that's a shame.
That is
not much. You see, here's the thing. Dee Snider was, at that time, so broke because they really got fucked by the record company. That's why you guys think Under the Blade is bad, the re-recording. Listen to Still Hungry. Holy shit.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard that?
Yes.
That is like makes the Blade awesome. And the reason they did that is so they can make money. Because now when you hear we're not going to take it in a commercial or something, it's the re-recording. Because the original recordings, they're not making no money off it because they such shit deals they did back then. And when the early 90s, Dee Snider would ride a bike to an office and be like a telemarketer. And when people would walk in, they'd go, hey, aren't you? He goes, dude, I get that all the time. I'm not Dee Snider. He was ashamed.
Do you like what Still Hungry sounds like?
It's so bad.
Yeah.
I think it was just so terrible, but you know, they did it so they can make money off it. He did write the songs. So now when you hear it in a commercial, you're never going to hear the original version.
Right. Which is funny because if you read like in the liner notes or whatever, it says this is what they wanted it to sound like.
Yeah, but I know. But here's the thing about Tom Warman. Tom Warman has produced like the biggest album for not only Twisted Sister, but Motley Crue, Cheap Trick, and a couple other ones. And all those bands slam Tom Warman relentlessly. You fucked up our albums. And it just turns out Tom Warman's the only guy that produced albums for these bands that sold millions.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
And they all hate Tom Warman for some reason. Except
even
Cheap Trick.
Even Cheap Trick hates him?
Yeah, Cheap Trick bashes them. Cheap Trick recorded in color, which it didn't come out with that horrible producer, Steve Albini.
Yeah.
I just stand that guy. And they re-recorded in color, and it's just fucking terrible. It's unlistenable.
Well, with Cheap Trick, I mean, the best way to listen to their songs is live. So I'll take the live recordings over the studio any day.
But
I don't really like them recorded. I like them live.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, man. Twisted Sister. Let me pull this out. Twisted Sister. They're the best albums of Twisted Sister is this right here. The fucking live ones, man. I mean, it's ruthless.
Yeah.
This and the Hammersmith one. These albums are fucking cutthroat, angry, and the stage raps that Dee does between songs. Like you see this microphone, see this cameraman Don't mess with the cameraman. Don't fuck the cameraman. And and it's so funny. He's like, I want everybody to repeat after me. I promise. And you hear the crowd go, I promise. You can tell he's talking to English, I promise.
I love that Marquis show.
Oh, Marquis is even better than Hammersmith, but they're both great. They're both.
I love watching Twisted Sister old live footage. It's like reminiscent of Paul Bailoff era Exodus, where they're just telling people to wreck shit. I love it.
Yeah, and the crowds, like so many people in the crowds and everything. It's
like Paul Bailoff would like you fucking posers, and he was very much
motherfuckers.
Yeah.
When I saw them, maybe the second to last time I saw them in 2010. I forget where it was, but it was down in Virginia. This fucking drunk guy gets up there to stage dive, hops up on the stage next to D and just stands there and like freezes. And he just stops in the middle of the lyrics and goes, "Well, jump, you asshole."
Oh man, I have a story almost identical to that. What happened with me and D. Snyder on the Stay Hungry tour.
I love this story.
You know the story, right?
Yeah, I do. I'm not saying nothing, Ralph. Don't worry.
All right. I'm all the way up front. I mean, I'm in front of D, right? And they go into Burning Hell. Welcome when you go down, down, down. And then I scream with all my might, "You're gonna burn in hell!" And he stops and he looks at me and he points at me. He goes, "That's my line, asshole." And then he points, "You're gonna burn in hell." And they're going, dude, I'll never forget. I was like, that was one of the greatest concert moments of my life.
That's awesome.
I have a D. Snyder story. It's nothing great, but I was rehearsing at a studio. I was in a Nazi tribute at the time as their bass player. And this was around fall 2009. Ralph, when was the Christmas concert film? 2009?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
6, I think.
Okay, so it wasn't then. But anyways, so we're in a rehearsal studio. We take a break. We step outside to go smoke. Then we go back inside. As we're walking back into our room, out comes D. Snyder from one of the rooms. Twisted Sister is rehearsing in the room right next to us. And he goes, "Hey guys, how you doing?" And he shakes all of our hands, and I'm like, "You are fucking awesome." So that was a pretty cool moment. Because
cool.
that was one of the iconic faces that I remember growing up with on music video television. Not MTV. This was Friday night videos. We didn't have cable at the time.
I remember Friday night videos. When 9/11 happened, that's when Twisted Sister reunited. The next day, he played a club down here called the Metal Factory, and I went, because I'm a big fan. And when I got there, I knew this girl from, I think Denmark or something. She's such a decent. She had a D. Snyder tattoo, big Twisted Sister fan. She flew all the way over here to see the 9/11 show. Then she came down to Florida, and I hang out with her. And D. Snyder loved her. So when we got to the club, we both went in, and I got to meet D. And who's standing right there? AJ Pero. He came as well. And I got a picture with AJ and D. And man, D was so cool. And I brought a bunch of vinyl, and see AJ and D signed this. And D really freaked out on this one. He's like, "Holy shit, you got the Rough Cuts demo, And I had him sign like all my Twisted Sister shit. Like, yeah, I know this album is crap, but man, Fire Still Burns is worth it alone. I had him sign this.
That's awesome.
That's my favorite song on that album.
Fire Still Burns. I mean, at least for that. I mean,
Fire Still Burns and Out in the Streets are both great.
I like Kill or Be Killed, the last track.
Now, Greg, was the club that you saw Twisted at in Virginia, was that Jack's in Springfield?
No, that was a little bit bigger than Jack's.
I've been to Jack's. I saw Anthrax there.
I've seen a lot of bands at Jack's. Jack's is a shithole, but they used to have some great metal shows.
There was Starbucks right there. It was a little strip mall.
Yeah.
I met D at a Chinese buffet.
What the fuck?
Yeah, me and my friend went to a Chinese buffet. Was sitting there eating. All of a sudden, I see this guy with his big blonde, curly hair. I'm like, "Is that D. Snyder over there?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think it is." And then we go up to get our food, and sure enough, it's him. And we just look at him, and say, "Hey, thanks, That was it. We didn't really do it, because he's with his family.
He's very nice to his fans, though. So that's one thing I got to say about him that I can't say about most musicians of his era.
I heard nightmares about J.J. French. I never met him, but I've heard nightmares about that guy.
Really? I've heard the same. Yeah, he's a real asshole.
Well, Seven Dust fired him.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I know he met
Seven Dust.
Well, funny you mentioned that. Yeah. Welcome to the show, JJ. No. Nate, what's your opinion on Under the Blade?
A fucking great album. It's like Twisted Sister making a Priest album. Or like a kind of new wave of British heavy metal sound. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
Good.
Now, you did listen to the correct version, right? Yeah, I can see Accept more than Judas Priest. You did listen to the correct version, right?
Oh, yeah. Found it on YouTube. But, I mean, Accept are the German Judas Priest, so... Yes.
Favorite songs?
Off Under the Blade? I mean, Tear It Loose is awesome. The title track, Destroyer, Shoot 'Em Down. Sin After Sin's good. The only one I really am not a fan of is Bad Boys of Rock and Roll, and Day of the Rocker was kind of lame, but it's an okay way to end the album.
I don't know if you noticed this, Wayne, but when you play Day of the Rocker on vinyl, you have to go and lift the needle because it stays saying rock, rock, rock.
Oh, really?
Rock. And yeah, the needle won't lift.
Oh, wow. I haven't listened to it in a long time. So
another album like that is High and Dry from Def Leppard.
No, right. I was going to
No, you have to get up and lift up the needle. So in this one, it's rock, rock, rock.
Or worse yet, Ralph, Invasion on the Vincent Invasion album.
Oh, it does. You know what?
Just that endless feedback
I don't think I made it to that track.
Oh, God. Endless feedback loop.
I played that. I played that album for my dog, and he fell. I played that album for my dog, and he fell asleep through it. I was surprised.
Wow,
I like that record.
I think your dog is the only one that can hear the singer sing, right?
Yeah, he has a cute hearing.
I mean, Robert Fleischman hit those dog notes in that song.
And I love Robert Fleischman, man. What a great guy. But
oh yeah, I had him on my show, man.
I know. I love that episode.
Oh, that episode's great, where he talks about Vinny drives with his legs crossed.
Yeah.
How the fuck do you drive with your legs crossed?
Greg.
Great record. Definitely my favorite Twisted Sister record and probably their best. This is probably the only album they do, as much as I like them, where I think every track's great. Bad Boys of Rock and Roll is definitely the worst one, but it's still a pretty good song. The 85 version ruins it, though, like we've all said. But What You Don't Know Sure Can Hurt You is one of the best songs they ever did. Great opener. And then Tear It Loose and Under the Blade, Destroyer, and Shoot 'Em Down would be. And you know what? Sin After Sin. I really like everything on here.
Yeah, there's really no bad.
It's just a great album. No. It's like new wave of British heavy metal, but kind of Americanized. It's got that really American attitude to it. I dig it a lot. But I think what this really benefits from, too, is, they were able to have at their disposal really their best tracks from their club days, and I think that's why it's so strong.
Oh, yeah.
Because the other records, I would assume they wrote mostly on the road. Dee did. And even though sonically they all sound good and hold up, I mean, you can listen to them all the way through without skipping anything, but there's a couple of songs that just,
Kind of like Black Flag.
Sure.
No, like the first album is like a collection of the best stuff from.
Oh yeah.
And then the rest of the albums really aren't as good as a result because they had to write everything on the fly.
Yeah, that is true. Just one thing, because I'm looking at this album cover, and on the back of it it looks like two different bands. Do you think that they could really just gotten away with just looking like regular guys?
Maybe not, but I dig the no makeup look. I dig that denim.
Yeah, right there. It looks cool.
Unlike Kiss, they look like rock and roll people.
Yeah, they look scumbagish, and I love that. You know, I love that
exactly. They look rock and roll.
Well, that's how Under the Blade sounds. I mean, that's how they should have looked.
Right.
I think having the gimmick helped them more than hurt them. In the
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was a double. It ended up hurting them, too, but it got them there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, their whole concept was to look like ugly chicks. That was their whole thing, you know?
All right. You can't stop.
They definitely look cool.
Tear It Loose is their best song ever.
I dig that look.
And Fast Eddie's solo's fucking ripping on it. That's a great song.
I put it in their top 3.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess you could call it the only true.
Go ahead. What?
I guess you could call it the only true Fastway album then, since Pete Ray produced
actually.
it and Fast Eddie played on it.
That was part 1 of our Twisted Sister show on Rat Salad Review. Come back in 2 weeks for part 2 when we discuss You Can't Stop Rock and Roll. See you then.
What?